All right, folks, welcome. Thanks for coming back. This is the Something Ventured podcast. I am Kent Lindstrom. I'm your host. Today, Pridecast 2015, the Supreme Court, in making gay marriage legal in all 50 states, writing for the majority, says Justice Kennedy, no union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. I just got that. Why he jammed that in there. Their hope is not to be condemned to live in loneliness, excluded from one of civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them that right. The judgment of the Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit is reversed. It is so ordered. This is the Something Ventured podcast. I'm Kent Lindstrom. I am your host. In this podcast, I explore the reality behind the Silicon Valley headlines as I sit down with the people who are shaping the way we view the world online and beyond. The world has been a bit reshaped, I would say, by the Supreme Court this week. The purpose of this particular podcast is really simple. It's to introduce you to two people, two transgender people, and let you go off on your own. And if you find either of them interesting at all, look them up, know who they are, spread the word. I came to this podcast because I realized there's a couple people I happen to know are transgender. And as I mentioned that to other people, they're like, no kidding. Like they seem shocked by it. And one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast is I find that many of the conversations I have with people in Silicon Valley are far more interesting than what I hear on podcasts. And so when I hear something, I'll pass it along, and here's what I hear. So I don't even want to pretend to know enough about transgender to say anything in particular on the topic. The risk that I say something wrong is very high. I don't know anything about Caitlyn Jenner, nay Bruce Jenner. I don't watch that show. I'm sure that's a whole interesting story. This is not that story. These are two people in tech who are transgender, who I think are incredibly influential in Silicon Valley in different ways, and I'm just going to bring them to your attention. That's it. Kind of a weird podcast, but there you go. The first one is Lana Wachowski. So the Wachowski brothers are the directors and producers, and the movie The Matrix is them. Matrix 1, 2, and 3, which is hugely influential to people in Silicon Valley. Hopefully not too far beyond entertainment, because it's a pretty dystopian view of the world. But it was two brothers, the Wachowski brothers, who created that. They did Cloud Atlas. There's a new thing called Sense8. Of the two brothers, the one who used to be named Lawrence is now named Lana Wachowski. And if you want to see a fabulously moving video, you want to see one thing on transgender on YouTube, go look up the Lana Wachowski Award. It'll come up. She wins an award for being transgender. Even she jokes a little bit about what that actually means, but gives a speech in it that is just an incredible speech. And of course, why wouldn't the person who's a fabulous movie director, creator of The Matrix, be able to write and give a fabulous speech? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised by it at all, but it really is something amazing. And so there's the first one. The brothers who made The Matrix are now a brother and a sister. The second one is interesting. I learned about this one when I was doing the podcast on whether or not there's a gay mafia in Silicon Valley. The answer, by the way, I'll save you listening to the podcast, so it's a good one. The answer was no, but a lot of gay people wish there were. And one of the things this person pointed out, as happens so often in radio, you're talking about one topic, another one emerges. He said, none of the Fortune 500 is openly gay. None of the Fortune 500 CEOs. And I don't know if any of the companies are gay, but I guess they're people, so they could be. None of the Fortune 500 CEOs are openly gay. Tim Cook has since come out in Tim Cook style, which is like, well, it's none of your business, but FYI, I am gay. And the generous reason that the person on the podcast explained why there were probably no openly gay CEOs in the Fortune 500, when, of course, something like 50 of them are probably gay, was, and this is the generous answer, that people all over the world work for these companies in all kinds of places, some of which are not that tolerant, and that being an openly gay CEO could actually put some of your employees in some places in the world in a dangerous position. So that's an entire another podcast. The morality of that is a completely different topic than this. I'm going to introduce you to a second transgender person. The highest paid person in the Fortune 500 is a woman. If if I had commercials on this podcast, I'd pause for one right now because you'd have to stick around to find out what that means. This is an incredible story, but this person, Martine Rothblatt, remember that name, born Martine Rothblatt. Martine Rothblatt went through whatever the transgender process is and went from being a man to being a woman. Founded the company, and this kind of shocked me, not that this person was transgender, not that it's a woman running the company, but that anybody did this, any human being. Founded XM Sirius, a huge satellite radio company. You know it, you probably subscribe to it, which is an amazing thing to do, to found a company that ends up being in the Fortune 500 and be its CEO. The number of people who've done that is exceedingly small. The sad part of this story is her child becomes sick with a very serious illness. And so she founds another company, United Therapeutics, which you have also certainly heard of. So has now founded two companies in the Fortune 500. And as CEO of United Therapeutics, the second company she founded, by the way, in a completely different space, as far as I understand, that's a drug company. As far as I understand, XM Sirius is a satellite radio company. And as CEO of this company, has recently been the highest paid person in the Fortune 500. So while this would have made better radio if this was still true, while there's no openly gay people running Fortune 500 companies, actually it's not true anymore with Tim Cook's coming out, there is a transgender person not only running a Fortune 500 company, getting paid more than anybody else, and having previously founded a second Fortune 500 company. So there you go. Two transgender people you might want to know. Look up and learn a little bit more about Martine Rothblatt and go watch the Lana Wachowski YouTube video. That's it. My job's done here today, people. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Something Venture podcast. Congratulations to everybody who's affected by the Supreme Court decision.